Caitlin Clark just called him the best player in the world, and his response shocked everyone.
It has the internet erupted right now. I mean, people mad about ready to fight over this Team USA situation. Now,
it was so interesting, Caitlin, because when I heard the Joker talking about his injury and missing an extended period of time, I immediately thought about you as well, since you've experienced that situation before. The first time it happened was last season, so returning from something like that can really test a player. Watching how the Joker came back and is now averaging almost a triple.
Here's the real reason. Here's the reality of the situation. There's no way Caitlin Clark could win MVP.
Double again while leading the NBA in that category is incredible. It raises the question of how difficult it is to return to that type of form after being out for a while. Well, I think your greatest ability is your availability, and that's something you truly understand when you're forced to sit on the bench and watch the game instead of playing it. At the same time,
great to be here with you guys today. Where is CC22? The United States senior national team came out, training camp starting in April, gave us the roster, named all the players, and Caitlin Clark was not one of the players named. Fans are asking.
Experience teaches you a completely different aspect of leadership and what it means to be a great teammate. Still, he clearly didn't miss a beat. Everyone knew he was going to do everything possible to get back to playing at his highest level. And honestly, there aren't many players who can average a triple-double. Most players are lucky if they record a few in an entire season. He's managed to do something far beyond that. She talked about how Jokic returned from a month-long injury absence and immediately began averaging a triple-double again. She explained how rare it is for a player to get...
That came out about the roster for Phoenix, the training camp coming up, and it was no Caitlin Clark. All right, it was no Caitlin, it was no Angel Reese, it was none of them on here. All right, now, I had a few messages from everybody, and they were basically just saying, like, yo, what's going on, right? Why is Caitlin Clark not on this list? Now, honestly, I don't think there's anything to panic over. All right, usually, if I'm not mistaken, they switch up the lineups just in case somebody gets injured at the end of the season, can't necessarily make it, whatever the case may be.
Even a couple of triple-doubles in one season, let alone maintain that level consistently throughout an entire year. Jokic has managed to do that for multiple seasons in a row. Then she made a major statement. She said Jokic is probably her favorite player to watch and that she believes he is the best player in the world. That's a pretty significant endorsement. Caitlin Clark is one of the biggest names in basketball right now. She's widely considered the face of the WNBA and has massive cultural influence across the sports world. When she says something like that on national television, people notice. Naturally, reporters wanted to know what Jokic thought about receiving that kind of praise from someone with Clark's level of recognition. And Jokic's response was simple. We have the same agent. That's why she said it. Absolutely perfect Jokic. No gratitude, no humility, and no, that's very nice of her to say. Instead, he gave a completely matter-of-fact explanation that reduced the compliment to a simple business relationship. It was classic Jokic behavior. The man almost seems allergic to taking compliments seriously. Now here's what makes it even funnier. Jokic isn't technically wrong. They actually do share the same agent. But that's obviously not the reason Caitlin Clark called him the best player in the world on national television. She said it because she genuinely believes it. She watches basketball and understands the game at an elite level. She recognizes greatness when she sees it. And what she sees is Jokic doing things on a basketball court that almost nobody else can do. But Jokic heard the compliment and his immediate reaction was to deflect it in the most awkward way possible. Not by being humble and saying he's just trying to help his team win. Not by acknowledging Clark's incredible talent and saying the compliment means a lot coming from someone like her. Instead, he went straight to saying they share the same agent, as if the entire thing must have been some coordinated public relations move. The internet immediately had a field day with that response because it's such a Jokic thing to say. This is a man who has won 3 MVP awards and still behaves as if being great at basketball is just something he has to tolerate between trips back to Serbia to spend time with his horses. He doesn't care about fame, attention, or compliments. He simply wants to play basketball, collect his stats, win games, and go home. So when someone as famous as Caitlin Clark goes on national television and calls him the best player in the world, Jokic's brain doesn't process that as a great honor. Instead, it processes it as confusion about why people are talking about him again. Then he remembers they share the same agent and decides that must be the explanation. And
I wouldn't necessarily look at this as the end-all be-all. All right, this is, I know it looks a little strange because you have Mo Billings back, Cam back, Paige back, Ray back. You have some players that were at the other training camp, right? And who played in Puerto Rico. You have those players here, but you also have Asia, right? And you have Sabrina, who weren't necessarily in the last ones or the last training camp. So, yeah, I think it's fine, man. It's nothing to panic about.
he says that thought out loud without really considering how it might sound. Now let's talk about why Caitlin Clark's opinion actually matters in this situation. She isn't just another analyst offering hot takes for attention. She's someone who understands basketball at the highest level. She's played against elite competition and has been the best player on the court in countless games. She knows what elite playmaking looks like because she's an elite playmaker herself. When Clark watches Jokic play, she isn't simply seeing a tall center who can pass the ball well. She's watching someone who processes the game in a similar way to how she does. She sees a player who reads plays several steps ahead. She sees someone who manipulates defenses through positioning and timing rather than relying solely on athletic ability. She sees a player who consistently makes teammates better by making the right decision every time. Clark and Jokic actually share very similar basketball styles, even though they play different positions and compete in different leagues. Both of them are elite passers who can score when necessary but prefer to involve their teammates. Both have incredibly high basketball IQ and don't rely purely on athleticism. Both prioritize winning and team success over individual statistics, even though their individual numbers are still incredible. So when Clark says Jokic is her favorite player to watch, it makes perfect sense. She's observing someone who approaches the game in a way that resembles her own approach, just at the NBA level with different physical tools. That's not agent coordination. That's genuine respect from one basketball mind to another. But Jokic doesn't think about it that way. He heard someone say Caitlin Clark praised him, and immediate,